divine history. Nights when heaven stood so low that the earth can never be the same again. Tonight is one of those nights. Tonight, eternity bends down, wraps the towel around its waist, and lays to wash feet. Tonight, a table becomes an altar. Bread becomes body. Wine becomes law. And the ordinary becomes the sight of the extraordinary. Tonight, we step into a story that is older than Egypt and deeper than memory. And it begins, as all true Passovers do, with the people who are afraid, a God who acts, and a promise that something must pass over us and leave us changed. So let me ask all of us who are here tonight, if this night does not change you, what will? My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, we have gathered at the threshold of the most holy of the holy days of our faith, the Easter Triduum. And like the Israelites on the eve of the Passover of Egypt, we are invited once more to remember, to relive, and to enter into a holy drama, a ritual not of repetition, but a ritual of transformation. Tonight is no ordinary night. Tonight, we do not merely recall something from the past. No, tonight, something happens. The Passover, as we know it, was never just a story to be told by the people of Israel. It was, and still is, a ritual, a sacred drama, a role play meant to change lives, meant to steer people's hearts, to awaken the people to the stupendous acts of God who breaks chains, the one who passed the seas and passes over houses marked with the blood of the Lamb. In Yoruba prayer traditions, we often invoke these words. Ikú arékọjá lórí ẹ, àrùn arékọjá lórí ẹ, meaning death shall pass over your head. Disease shall pass over your head. Can we not hear in those words the lingering echo of the original Passover spirit? That deep ancestral longing that God must intervene, that God will act, that something must pass over us. And is it by accident, my dear friends, that the very heart of our Christian faith, the Paschal mystery, unfolded during the Passover season? Is it mere coincidence that Jesus, who evaded death many times, allowed himself to be captured and to surrender himself to death during the Passover season? And even more, is it a coincidence that he established his own ritual, the Lord's Supper, as the new Passover feast? No, my dear friends, all these were not accidents, they were not coincidences. Nothing about tonight is accidental. Everything about tonight is intentional, deliberate, and prophetic. So this night, Jesus is telling you and I to enter into this night with the same seriousness, with the same solemnity, with the same fierce hope as the Israelites who packed their bags, trembling with trembling hands, and with the smeared lamb's blood on their doors at that first Passover night. Yes, let us enter this tribune with hearts that are ready to be changed. But Jesus does not stop there, my dear friends. He does something surprising. He does something new. He rises from the table, ties a towel around his waist, and kneels. And with that hand that shaped the universe, he begins to wash the feet of his friends. This action of Jesus is not just a nice gesture. This is not a symbolic act to pass across the message. No. This is voluntary kenosis, a radical, self-emptying love that is so total that it becomes the measure of our discipleship. And do you notice? The command he gave at the washing of the feet is the same that he gives at the Eucharist. Do this in memory of me. Not just celebrate this or remember this, but he says, do this. He means live this out. Become what you do. Because if this ritual does not change us, my dear friends, what will? And this is why our rededicated chapel says it all. It's faith. Let's take a look. From the table to the cross, to the altar, through the priest. It is not by mistake that our presidential seat is sitting directly under the cross. And the reason is, in this new Passover, the priest is not just a mere ceremonial functionary. No, the priest is the living bridge in the new Passover. What would our faith be without the priesthood? What would the Eucharist be like without the priesthood? And that is why this evening we also mark the gifts of the priesthood. That sacred call that established on this very night by Jesus. Traditionally, earlier on Holy Thursday, at the Christian Mass, we would have celebrated those men whom Christ had chosen to bear this treasure in earthen vessels. And tonight, let me speak especially and directly to our brothers here, information for the priesthood. To be a priest today is to be misunderstood, to be scrutinized, or to even be rejected by a world that is so obsessed with freedom without sacrifice. But remember this, gentlemen. Being a Gen Z, or a millennial, or a Gen Alpha may influence your style, but it can never redefine the essence of the priesthood. The priesthood does not adjust to you. You are configured to it. And when the temptation comes to want to negotiate the demands of this priesthood, or to rebrand priesthood to suit your comfort zones, know this. The church, in our wisdom, responds not by bending to your wings. No, the church calls you to something deeper. And when you don't respond to that call that is deeper, the church acts decisively. And so, let's return to the table. Let's return to the mystery. And we hear again tonight the ancient words of St. Augustine of Hippo. Manduca vita, vive vita, apervis vitam et integra est vita. Meaning, eat life, drink life. You will have life, and that life will remain whole. Tonight, the Lord spreads before us the banquet of His love, my dear friends. Tonight, He hands Himself over, not to death, but to us, to His church, to His priests, to His people. And so, as we begin this Easter Triduum, let us listen again to the prayer we prayed at the beginning of this Mass and Collect, where we said, O God, you have called us to participate in the most sacred supper. Grant that we may draw from so great a mystery the fullness of charity and of life. My prayer for all of us tonight is that we will leave this sacred space tonight changed. Changed by the towel and the basin. Changed by the body and the blood. Changed by a love that stoops, serves, and saves. Because if this night does not change us, what will?